Do you think that Harry ever looks back and think that he's got it wrong?
I like to think so.
Yeah.
I think in the middle of the night sometimes he must wake up in a cold sweat and think, my God, what have I done? Perhaps he doesn't, perhaps he genuinely believes he's still on the right path, but I think in certain moments he must regret, being estranged from his own family. He tells us he's happy in California and he tells us the marriages sound great. I hope it is for them, but there's no reason why he had to go to the extremes that he did, in my opinion. And I think sometimes in the middle of the night, I think, yes, he probably would regret it.
Yeah, I think he does, but I just don't think he doesn't care. I think he regrets it, but he doesn't care enough to do anything about it because he just thinks, what's the point? And I don't think if he said to Meghan, let's try and make things right and get back into the fold, I mean, she doesn't make any real efforts to kind of get back in the good graces of her family. Maybe it's not worth it.
She's not trying to help him to get back in with his family.
Exactly.
And he's not helping her to get back in with her family.
Exactly.
I mean, if I was Harry, who's never met Thomas Markle, you'd think he'd sort of say to, well, let's try and patch this up.
I mean, that is an embarrassment. That is shocking.
They've never met and he's never met the grandchildren. I just think it's
scandalous. And you went on the BBC to whinge about your father not talking to you. What about the grandfather of your children?
We know that Harry had fallen out with his brother. That kind of happens in siblings. There's a bit of a rivalry going on there, or that Meghan didn't get on with Catherine. There was a bit of a difference in culture. There was a difference in the way they kind of lived their lives, etc. And we kind of see, OK, they fell out. But falling out with Queen Elizabeth II, I mean, that's pretty bad for Meghan.
I mean, imagine if this came out a few years ago. People would have been like, oh, this is a planted story or whatever. But one thing we've noticed is a bit of a thread of commonality. So the whole, with Prince Harry being too in love, we keep hearing things consistently coming out from courtiers and people that are close to the royal family. It's interesting sort of how, from what we've heard, the Queen's opinion of Meghan evolved, and it's much like how the country's opinion evolved. I remember actually where exactly I was when Meghan and Harry got married. It was my final year of university. I was in a giant park, and much like the public, I think the Queen thought Meghan was a breath of fresh air, very intelligent, very well spoken, obviously from her acting background, and she welcomed her, I think, like much of the country, with open arms. I think where things went wrong was clearly the cultural clash. And you mentioned that with Princess Catherine and Meghan. And I think in some ways, Meghan thought she was marrying a billionaire, but was marrying a millionaire with like a sort of a reduced status. So that might have been not appealing eventually. But also, I don't think she fully understood or was even interested in what the role was supposed to become. I mean, the idea that, she hadn't earned enough brownie points to actually be able to choose the tour she wanted to go on in the way that she wanted to do, or curate her image in the same way. Most people would just be like, oh, you have to kind of have skin in the game. You have to have, I'm sorry, open schools in Wales on a rainy day for a number of years before you ingratiate yourself and garner that goodwill. But I don't think she had that approach or attitude. And you could say it's very American, very can-do spirit.
It wasn't just going to be opening schools, was it?
Exactly.
It was, the Queen had this role carved out for them. She thought they'd be fantastic as her ambassadors throughout the Commonwealth. And so they were going to go all over the world, and they started off doing that. And she thought they'd be absolutely fantastic. But, sadly, I have to disagree. I just don't think she ever intended to stay in the royal family. I think
if she actually understood it, she definitely wouldn't have, yeah.
No, so I think right from the start she was possibly planning to leave, I'm afraid, and that's my opinion now. It wasn't at first. I thought, like everyone else, I thought when she first arrived she'd be great, but I think slowly but surely over the years the evidence has mounted that she just didn't intend on staying, and she's isolated Harry from her family, from his family, and now we are where we are.
Meghan Markle has burned every bridge in sight, and it's starting to leave Prince Harry with nowhere to turn. From her father to her royal in-laws, she's walked away from every family that ever gave her a name. And according to royal insiders, it's a pattern that's beginning to haunt Harry himself. It all started before the royal wedding, remember? Her father, Thomas Markle, excluded, embarrassed, and then cast aside. Her half-sister, Samantha, silenced and dismissed. Meghan didn't just move on, she cut them off completely. And while at the time it seemed justified, many now wonder, was it a warning sign? Every time conflict arises, Meghan's answer seems to be the same: walk away. The result? No real friends, no real roots, and a public image that's starting to look cold and calculated. When Meghan entered the royal family, she said she found the family she never had. But when things didn't go her way, that same family became the villain of her story. Royal commentator Ingrid Seward said it best: Meghan treats relationships like contracts. Once they stop serving her purpose, she ends them. Now that might sound harsh, but look at the pattern. Her family, the royals, even former friends and staff. It's always the same story. Meghan wins, others lose. And now Harry's realizing he's running out of allies too. Harry has followed Meghan into exile, emotionally and geographically. But that choice came with a cost. The military brothers who once adored him, gone. His father and brother, distant. Even royal supporters have grown weary of the constant complaints. Sources close to the Sussex circle say Harry's finally starting to feel the chill. He's surrounded by PR advisors and Hollywood producers, but not family. And as Meghan's connections dwindle, so does his sense of belonging.
I do think Harry should take a lot of the blame, though, because if you look at William's approach to his relationship with Catherine, he was very cautious. They dated for 10 years. And I think, yes, I don't doubt that William was any less in love with Catherine as Harry was with Meghan, but he understood that it's not just about him and his feelings. There's an institution and someone's life at risk as well. You are literally ushering someone into a completely different lifestyle that many people can't even fathom. And I don't think Harry had that approach. He just thought, here's this beautiful, articulate woman, I'm head over heels in love with her, I'm going to shoehorn her into this institution and it must bend to her will because we have more cachet than they think we do. And that's the fundamental difference. I don't think necessarily she dragged him from the family. I just think Harry was very unwise. He was not a very wise person, and I don't think he chose someone who was culturally a very good fit for the institution. And in Meghan's mind, she probably just thought, actually, this isn't for me. And leaving was not something that was much of a problem for her because I don't think she had that kind of ties to it, emotional connection to the institution in the first place.
Well, stick to it for very long, though, did she?
Oh, yeah, she did.
Yeah, but a year or two after a massive, great wedding that cost us all about £30 million. I mean, I think she could have put in at least 5 years before deciding it wasn't
Absolutely
not a year,
not
18
5
months.
years.
Not 18 months, you know.
Well, I've said this before. I think I think Harry was very much, he lost a couple of partners in the past because I think things had gone wrong, or the press exposure, or the pressure.
He was terrified of losing
I think he was,
he just wanted to lock her down.
Yeah.
And we are where we are. I mean, look, at the end of the day, they look like they were making a pretty good go of their marriage because I suppose in their mind, they're kind of trauma bonded. It's like them against the world. Like everyone wants to see us break up. So like they're just making a good go of it. But it's really unfortunate how things panned out. And I think ultimately Harry was very unwise from the beginning and he was a bit desperate, need I say. I think he couldn't believe his luck that he's bagged this beautiful American actress. Like he was just going to do anything to keep her.
Going back to the Queen, the comments of the Queen, I mean, she was tough as old boots, the Queen. She's sat down, had, dinners with dictators. She spoke to all sorts of people, had all sorts of undesirables, that she's had to sit down and engage with. It takes a lot to upset her. Why would she have been so upset about Meghan's approach, do you think?
She's very, very tough, very pragmatic, but I think deep down she was, she was a grandmother and, she was very, very fond of Harry. I mean, I think they were extremely close and probably the two most popular royals that we had at the time. I just think that she worked her whole life, trying to make sure that the monarchy succeeded after her and the legacy was the most important thing to her, and the Commonwealth, of course, as well. And it must have been absolutely heartbreaking for her to see, A, what was happening with Prince Andrew, and B, what was happening with Harry and Meghan leaving in her final years, and to cope with that as she was, approaching the end and Prince Philip died and all this, happened right at the end of her life, I think must have been absolutely heartbreaking for her. And I think, sadly, that is probably the thing that people won't forgive Harry and Meghan for, making her last years a bit of a misery.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned earlier about that this news is only coming out now. I mean, these were conversations that happened, 5 or 6 years ago. If this had come out in 2021 or 2022, the Sussexes would have come out and denied it. There would have been a huge storm.
Plant.
Now we kind of sit back and go, oh, well, yeah, we understand that probably happened.
That makes sense.
We can believe that story, yeah. But Meghan, on her side of the coin, when she did her Netflix show, for instance, she said, or I think when she spoke to Oprah, is one of the two, either spoke to Oprah or Netflix, she's gone on record and said, I've always got on very well with the Queen. And she references the trip that they shared to Chester, where I think the Queen, the late Queen, put a little rug over her legs when they were a little bit cold. I mean, there was potential there for a bond, but it fell apart quite quickly.
Yeah.
Fun enough, went up on the Royal Train, didn't they? I think, which we're going to talk
about. The Royal Train.
We're going to talk about in a minute.
It's a great segue. So the Royal Train. Now, how do you feel about the Royal Train? Because I've looked at pictures of the Royal Train recently inside it. It does look a little bit dated. It is kind of an old train. It's not like the Hogwarts Express or anything like that. It's not something that looks absolutely. It's not the Orient Express or anything like that. It's not that train of luxury. But they are getting rid of it, and it's
Yes.
been around for 127 years. Buckingham Palace has said that we cannot afford it anymore. They would have to spend a lot of money in 2027 just to get it back on track, so to speak. Are you sad that this institution has gone?
Not really, because I feel like it's kind of in line with where the monarchy is going as well. So we have to remember that it's quite expensive to keep it running. It's kept near Milton Keynes, and every time that they want to use it, it costs a lot of money just to getting on the train tracks. And
It costs 1.2 million roughly a year just to keep it running.
Exactly.
And they used it twice last year, and I
Yeah.
think it was about 89,000 that it actually cost just to do these two.
And before that, it
engagements.
was, William and Kate used it, I think, during lockdown as well.
Yeah.
And I don't think it fits really with the kind of persona that King Charles tries to put out there, especially as a green environmentalist. I mean, he has like green cars, for example, that run on biofuel. And I think this, diesel guzzling giant train that they hardly use, that's not environmentally friendly. I don't think that's the image that he wants to put out of the royal family and of Prince William. Now, I do think it's sad that they're basically going to rely on helicopters.
That's right.
It's not exactly, a fishing boat.
In Hollywood, image is everything, but it's also temporary. Meghan's carefully curated public persona has kept her relevant, but at what cost? The whispers in California are getting louder. She's difficult, demanding, and increasingly isolated. And that's what brings the fear, the cold sweat. She can cut off her father and then a king. What's stopping her from cutting off Harry too? The man who gave up his royal life to stand by her side could one day find himself alone, watching another chapter of her life play out without him. The tragedy is this. Meghan's story could have been one of unity, compassion, and change. Instead, it's becoming a cautionary tale about self-isolation and ambition gone cold. And Harry, once the world's favorite prince, is now caught in the fallout. Every door Meghan closes, another wall goes up between them and the people who truly cared. And if she ever walks away from Harry too, that might be the final bridge burned. Meghan Markle has every right to protect her peace. But when protection becomes destruction, that's not empowerment, that's isolation. And now it's Prince Harry who's paying the price. Do you think Harry's starting to realize what he's lost? Or is he too deep in Meghan's world to turn back? Subscribe for more royal revelations, unfiltered commentary, and the truth behind the crown.